Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, leader. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. It's Kaylee here, and you are tuning in today to episode 111. Today, I want to share with you some of the thoughts I've been having around the season of growth in my business and in how each season we tend to see ups and we tend to see downs, both financially and emotionally. And often these fluctuations are related and sometimes they aren't at all. And I'm choosing to share this with you today because I know with 100% certainty that you too have bad days. In fact, you may have tough weeks or months or years, and often you don't realize how tough things were, how resilient you were to endure the struggles until you finally came out on the other end. I remember when my babies were little and they needed a lot more of me. And for those of you who are new around here, my boys are now 13 and 10. But when they were real little, they were so demanding. And at certain times, their literal life depended on my care and feeding of them, my oversight, my nurturing. And in fact, this weekend, I was out at the baseball field watching Luke play, and I was sitting in the bleachers with several moms who had toddlers. And these kids were getting into all kinds of mischief, climbing the bleachers, digging in the trash cans, tugging and pulling at their mom to come play on the playground, take me to the bathroom, buy me a snack. I mean, it was exhausted. I was exhausted just watching it. And I'll be honest, I don't really miss those days a whole lot now that I'm in a different stage of motherhood. I mean, I do miss the innocence. I miss the hugely impactful milestone moments that kids have so often when they're little. Everything's the first steps, the first meal, the first time at the beach, feeling the sand, the first time riding a bike or seeing a whale. I mean, it's exciting, but when it comes to rest and focus on mom, there just isn't much during those first years. And as I was sitting in those bleachers at the game, thinking about how much more restful it was to not have a kid to chase around while I watched the game play by play, I thought to myself about how raising a business is so much like raising a human. And I say that because I have done both. And I thought about how scenarios require evolving myself to adapt to their growth. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, raising a business to embrace the entrepreneurial experience. And so we'll discuss this journey in 6 distinct phases. We'll talk about the key experiences during each stage, some of the challenges a business in each stage may be experiencing, and the exciting rewards that come with each stage of growth. I'll start by reminding you that there is no manual for raising a baby, and there is also no manual for raising a business. So my goal is for this lesson to act as a framework to help you better understand where you are and what you might expect as your business advances. Okay, let's dive in. So stage 1 is birth, right? This is the very first moment you decide to take on a significant personal risk to start your business. Most people at the stage are working to meet their own needs and hence have a job, not a true business. So in this stage, you're primarily managing yourself. You have certainty that you'll be successful come hell or high water, and you get to have the pride of business ownership. You're wearing blinders and you're in a fog, just like when you gave birth to a newborn, right? Sleepless nights. You are confident that you will raise a successful, thriving human being, but you're not quite sure how you will pull it off. And many of your decisions are instinctive and reactionary. You're trusting your gut and taking in information, guidance from trusted sources. And if we evaluate the stage for a company like Apple as an example, this would be back in 1976, where Apple was established by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in the garage of Jobs' parents' house. Jobs had to sell his Volkswagen bus, I think I heard for a couple $100 back in the day, to finance the Apple One. And then we move into stage 2, which is infant stage. Your business has now entered its race for survival. This is the stage where you hire a person to help you handle the increased workload that resulted from the successful birth of your business. And you're essentially, you incorporated. You have independent contractors or part-time help, but no organized team because you're primarily focused on running the business. Your focus is almost entirely on treating patients, and therefore cash flow is a significant challenge. So the goal in this stage is really to survive and grow. And you may not really understand the difference between revenue and profits, and likely have no systems or formal financial accounting mechanism. This is a very challenging time. This is one of those where, oh my gosh, like I talked about, you're chasing that little guy around, right? It's exhausting. So you may be working for free and are scraping to get staff to work for you, maybe either as interns or on small salaries or part-time hourly rates. You're just like getting on with the get on. Like, let's just survive here, right? And in the case of Apple, this would be the launch of Apple One product selling for $666 in July of 1976. In stage 3, we move into the really fun toddler stage. We call this management by crisis. In this stage, our business begins to walk and talk on its own. We begin to build our management team, but as an owner, you might still maintain absolute control. Your team has begun to work together, but still relies on you for core decisions. Everything is accelerated at this stage of development. Cash flow is still a concern, but you're making significant progress and making disciplined decisions that will give you increased mobility in your business. So in this stage, the goal is to grow and to begin building a real company. This is where management of team becomes mission critical to address the prospect of significant growth, but also focus on systems and processes. But you might find that as you are beginning to build a new team, new problems can arise because now other people have decision-making authority in the business. So a client told me today an example of a mishap on the phone. An employee didn't really follow the script properly, and that led to an angry patient. And again, it's small things that have to be addressed, but that could take you away from the focus on growth. So you still have a toddler here. This is a very stressful and exciting time as an entrepreneur as you begin to see financial viability, revenue growth, and the prospect of a compelling future ahead. In Apple's story, this toddler stage was in 1983. After 5 years of development, the Apple Lisa is released as the first personal computer sold with a graphical user interface. It's kind of funny to say these things now that we have computers on our wrists, but this is how it begins, people, right? All right, moving into stage 4, teenager. Woo! Boy, have I learned a lot about this stage, both by dipping my toe into growth here and also raising a human teenager this year. At this stage, you start to bring on stronger team members and perhaps even a practice administrator to run the back end of the business. Cash flow is no longer a challenge. Growth in your company is your primary focus, and you're constantly adding and testing new services, techniques, and approaches to innovate your space. But be cautious here, my teenage little rebel, because you may mistakenly think that more is better and begin to build too rapidly. I'm thinking even of my 13-year-old Cooper with an aching body every day, bruises, all the things, because he's constantly challenging himself both physically and emotionally without proper investment into recovery. It's, as he would say, full send, mom. So in this stage, the focus is on growth in sales, creativity, and innovation. So perhaps you might be expanding locations or building multiple revenue streams. Some of the challenges that I see here are the intense focus on more, particularly as you're adding team members and they are so sales focused that we reinforce selling at all costs without check-ins on quality, systems, and economic measurements of our activity. So sometimes we'll be so busy and I'll hear a client say, I invested in this marketing and I don't even know what it's making for me. Or I used to have a system in place for this, but Susie took it over and now it's kind of all over the place. So this is really a critical point where focus on constraint while scaling becomes critical. So those of you who are loyal listeners to this podcast, you've heard me talk about slowing down to speed up. That's what needs to happen here. This is why it is so important to stay focused on our mission through this process and reinforce with the team day in and day out what we're all about. If you lose focus at this stage and start chasing shiny new objects, you can come off track in a way that can lead to the demise of your organization. This is no joke. When we look at Apple's trajectory, we go back to 1984, where Apple debuted its new line of Macintosh computers geared toward professionals during a Super Bowl commercial, now considered to be the defining moment for Apple's brand. Then we move into stage 5, which is young adult. So this is the stage that's also known as rebirth. You're beginning to anticipate the future and make more educated and committed choices with confidence and clarity. You start to eliminate fluff, set boundaries, and limit what you focus on. So this is where you start to redefine what to really focus on long term. This stage represents a rebirth of identity where you begin to settle down and recalibrate what success really looks like as it relates to your journey of growth in your business and what that journey provides you personally along that process. So during this stage, you'll be relying upon professional team, managers in each area of the business to make decisions independently, meaning they'll have the authority to say no on your behalf. The structure of decision-making no longer runs through you as the founder, although you would still retain the ability to override, but you rarely do because you have a strong team that you rely on in place. So here's where you'll see revenue growth start to decline, but profits expand as your cash position starts to build up. Some of the conflicts you might be experiencing are tightening up systems among a team of employees who didn't quite have structure or limitations in the past. Sound familiar? But profits are growing, so you're going to see more independence and financial rewards to complement this rebirth. When we look at the stage for Apple, this really happens in 1985 after internal power struggle between Steve Jobs and Apple's new CEO, John Sculley, and eventually Steve Jobs resigns. And then stage 6 is called the zone. And this is where Macintosh continued to grow as Apple added a new product line, the laptop. The late 1980s through the early 90s were considered their first golden age. But the 90s brought struggle as Windows was first introduced and IBM surpassed the Mac in sales. In this stage, you are reaping rewards. You have developed a system for living that allows you to consistently meet the needs of the community and the patients you serve, as well as yourself in a way that is sustainable. So the business no longer is led by the wishes just of you, one person. It's led by its core values, a clear vision, and a mission that gives its founder and everyone else in the organization really a reason for showing up every day. And the value is on sustainable growth. The company knows who they are not, how they are positioned in the marketplace, and what kind of moves it will make in the future. It is not reactive. There is predictable excellence, sales and profits are growing, and there are clear goals and a controlled and nurtured creation. So the goal at this stage is to increase revenue and profits and create an organization that has vision and serves its customers at the very highest level. Responsibility and authority is balanced and structured not based on the owner, but what is needed and what is right for the soul of the business. I think of this stage as when our child grows up and becomes an adult who's capable of supporting us now in many ways. They're likely building their own family, they're self-financed and fully independent of basic needs from their parents. Kind of makes me sad to think about that, but also happy at the same time, right? We've done our job. And then from there, it's really all about reinvention innovation, and adaptation. We see businesses go through midlife crises, aging, institutionalization, where the focus is just preserving what was, and finally, failure. Without a vision that is sustainable and the people to support it, businesses will go to die. Symptoms we recognize of businesses in these stages are things beginning to break down. You get to the point where it's time to evaluate whether to rejuvenate or to continue to age out. Through the aging process, we see breakdown begin to accelerate rapidly. Business owners are typically in a state of denial, saying, well, my problems aren't that big, or plugging that hole or cutting that cost will fix it all. We often will start to hear victim language and a lack of focus, and then talented people begin to leave. Then the only solution is to keep the organization alive artificially through subsidizing without a focus on serving the needs of customers. And unfortunately, we see this all too often at KLC, and it can happen rapidly for a business that does not properly identify and focus on adapting to the stages of growth through the entrepreneurial journey. We see them either growing too fast or cutting corners without the proper guidance, and then they end up in a race to become the low-price leader. So why is knowing your stage of growth important? Why did I take the time to go through all of these 6 stages of the aesthetic business life cycle with you? Because I believe it will help you understand where you are in the journey of raising your business so you can grow alongside it. And what I mean by that is you can't grow a business without growing yourself. Can you imagine if I tried to parent my teenager Cooper the way I did when he was 2? Spoon feeding him meals, walking him around in the stroller, watching every single move, slapping his hand away from a hot flame or an electric outlet, putting him down for naps, making sure he pooped on schedule, right? That would be asinine. But over and over again, I hear business owners tell me, when I have more time, I'll implement XYZ. Or once I get around to this or that, then I'll commit to working on my business weekly. Leader, I'm telling you right now that this is a recipe for failure. Your focus should be on moving your company with intention and discipline through the stages of growth, from infancy into the zone of maximization and maturity. Developing the skills and learning the tools to create new habits that advance your business in a way that is scalable and sustainable. And maybe you're like, Kaylee, I don't even know if my business is scalable. I feel like I'm raising a freaking 2-year-old over here. If you're not sure if you have those tools in place to scale your business, we've created something for you. It's a quiz, and you can take it for free at klcconsultants.com/quiz. You'll fill out some answers to scenario-based questions to reveal if your business is at a stage of growth that will allow you to build a deeply satisfying business that will stand the test of time and endure the maturation process. And again, leader, this is about you meeting your business where it needs you to be. And we have created our programming at KLC in really 3 distinct phases to walk you through these stages of growth. Step 1 is blueprint. And this is where we help you build the framework for where you would like to be positioned in the marketplace. Identifying a gap, building your marketing strategy, and designing your own proprietary method. And we do this through our proprietary aesthetic method tool or via our PAM workshop. Step 2 is vision. This is where we help you define your mission, your vision, your values. We help you build the confidence to scale, set boundaries, and learn how to show up as the CEO you are meant to be to cross the next $1 million milestone in your business. Remember, you can't parent your 13-year-old like you did when she was 2. We do this through our CTS certification program or Confidence to Scale 6-week business growth certification program. And then step 3 is about capability. And this is where we are hand delivering the tools to bring your business along this journey of growth from infant to a mature adult living in the zone in its prime. And we break this step into 5 distinct milestones over 1 year in our POP Leadership Academy, where we will support you with the resources, guidance, coaching, community, and empowerment to execute on your vision. 1, 2, 3, it's as easy as that. And if you trust the process and you put the work in, you will see results like so many of our incredible clients have experienced. 100% growth year over year, 4 to 6 weeks of fully unplugged vacation each year, financial clarity and confidence, polishing systems and processes, mastery of the relationship marketing process, transparency and communication with team, confidence to tackle God-sized dreams, crossing the next $1 million milestone in your business, and on and on and on. I'll link up all of these programs in the show notes. And a first great step would be to head over and take our free quiz, again, at klcconsultants.com/quiz, and learn more about what you may need to implement as your next move in your business based on your stage of growth. Listen, leader, every expert began as a beginner, and that includes being a business owner. You didn't roll out of bed one day thinking, I'd love to have the pressure of creating something out of thin air, leading a team, treating patients, having financial responsibility, knowing marketing strategy, doing human resource activities, focusing on legal compliance, branding, and developing my skills as a provider. Hell no. You were called to this. You have been called to greatness. And in order to be great, in order to achieve excellence, you have to make decisions and take risks that get you to that place. Don't take your infant and suffocate it to a point that stagnates its growth. Instead, link arms with my team and let us help you develop and mature while your business grows in a way that provides a deeply satisfying, freedom-based lifestyle for you and the ones you love. Stop burning the candle at both ends, goddess. Instead, embrace the entrepreneurial journey you are meant to be on, and I'll be right here with you. P.S. If you are even remotely considering what it might be like to work with me and my team and any of our programs, what does it look like for us to help you through the process of moving through these stages of growth in your business, please head over to klcconsultants.com and fill out a contact form application. We'll set up a call to make sure that there's a fit for us. And if not, we'll help steer you in the right direction to help you succeed in step with your own timeline and budget. Thank you for tuning in today, leader. Now it's time to go raise your baby, and I'll see you next week. Wait, before you go, hey, if you're vibing with this conversation and you want to join me on my mission to help 100 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year, or leader, maybe you want to become one of them, head over to Facebook and join our free community, the Fierce Factor Society. Over there, we're taking this conversation to an elevated level. Get access to resource guides, podcast supplements, guideposts, and direct communication with me, my expert team, and of course, a society of fierce women making big moves and disrupting the status quo in aesthetic wellness. You can link directly through the show notes or head to Facebook and search the Fierce Factor Society. See you there, goddess.